There is a lake without a floor, deep enough to sink all concepts of reality. Darkness, time, and monsters merge. Those who find themselves on the way down will discover how much pressure the human soul can take. When they wash up on shore, in their hands, they hold a pearl of insight. Now, will you swim in Umbra Lake?
Shadow Lake by Daniel Bryan Mobley, dedicated to Huey Johnson. But now, this is what the Lord says. He who created you, Jacob, he who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. The padre closed the Bible and gave a measured gaze to the crowd of mourners that occupied the room. Maya sat alongside her father on the front row, consoling him. The casket lay a few feet in front of them, a rich mahogany with gold-trimmed number. It was closed. Our dearly departed son, brother, and friend is not alone in his journey back to our Heavenly Father, the padre went on. The Savior is with him, guiding him to a much better place than this fallen world could ever offer. As the book of Revelation says, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Although the padre continued, Maya barely heard a word. Her mind was elsewhere. After another 2 minutes, she could take it no longer. She stood up, interrupting the padre mid-sentence. "How dare you come here?" she hollered. The padre went silent, and the room gasped. Maya turned around, facing the back of the room. Everyone's eyes followed suit. In the far back corner sat a white man in his 30s, handlebar mustache and dark slick back hair. Next to him was his wife, a short petite brunette with large eyes. Both shared a knowing gaze. Then the couple rose to their feet, arms locked. "We meant y'all no harm coming here," the man said. "We just wanted to pay our respects." "To hell with your respects," Maya said, then spat on the floor. Maya's father grabbed her by the arm, but she jerked away and stumbled out of the aisle. "You didn't respect his life, officer." The man's face changed. He didn't respect the law. Maya began sprinting down the aisle toward him, but several mourners seized her by the arms, held her back. The man's wife took him by the hand and pulled him toward the exit, the man still yelling. "If you people had been raised to respect us, then this wouldn't happen. Stop raising gangbangers and thugs, and we won't keep having to shoot them." "He doesn't mean it," the wife screamed as they rushed out the door. "We're sorry for your loss." Maya struggled against the people holding her. They wouldn't let go. Her teeth gnashed together, her anguish threatening to take over. It was only a plea from her father that brought her back to reality, a plea to honor her brother's legacy, to let God have what is his. But Maya Warfield only felt agony at the prospect of giving the Lord such things. For if her father meant the life of her brother and vengeance itself, what would be left for her? "You worked with him," something like that. "Worked." Maya shook her head at the thought of that word being in the past tense. She didn't want to accept what that meant. It meant that her brother, Levi, was never going to work again. Dead people don't work. They also don't tell jokes, drive you to art class, or drop you off McDonald's when you can't be bothered to eat. They don't do anything but be dead. She took a long drag of her Camel cigarette after she spoke the words, not really caring if the mysterious woman answered or not. The woman, all legs and glowing onyx skin, shifted on the bench. She placed her hands in her lap and smiled, watching the many visitors of Jones Brothers' funeral home cross the parking lot and head for their cars. The fall wind picked up and she brought the collar of her leather duster closer to her face. "I never had the pleasure," the woman said to Maya, her eyes still on the departing visitors. Maya took another puff of her cigarette. It was nearly down to a nub, before dropping it to the ground, brought her foot down, mashed it out. She too was watching everyone leave, the smoke snaking out of her nostrils as she did so. After a moment, Maya looked at the woman on the bench a few feet away. "So, you know Bobby then?" Maya asked her. "You work with my father, Manny?" No," the woman answered. "I don't know your father either." "I don't know you," Maya said, turning to face her. "So if you don't know me or my family, why are you here?" The woman only smiled at Maya. Maya didn't smile back. And then the woman was on her feet. As she approached, Maya craned her neck. The woman was easily over 6 feet tall, having high cheekbones and a flawless dark complexion. She was expensively dressed, decked out in an all-black pantsuit and leather duster that screamed rich. Maya studied her bright green eyes, so bright they seemed yellow in the October evening. She imagined they could only be contacts. The height, on the other hand, couldn't be faked. "I'm Riri," she told Maya, extending her hand. Maya hesitated, then shook it. "Maya." The two women glared at one another before letting go. Maya broke eye contact first, feeling like the woman, Riri, was almost looking inside of her. It was those darn yellow eyes, like a doll's eyes. The wind picked up again, and Riri fastened the buttons on her leather duster. She spoke. "I'm not going to waste much of your time, Maya. I work for Aegis, a non-profit organization that specializes in resolving incidents, like the one concerning your brother." Maya made a condescending chuckle. She pulled a pack of Camels from her jacket. Plucking another cig out, she stuck it between her lips. She then returned the pack to her pocket, groped around, and brought out her lighter, lit up. "Y'all like Black Lives Matter or something, right?" she asked, smoke filling the air again. "Because I ain't dealing with that ish anymore. I tried that a few years ago. Justice for Negroes and all that. No unity or leadership had the clock turned back to 1963. But instead of fire hoses and German shepherds, it was rubber bullets and tear gas." Riri nodded. "We're not affiliated with the BLM movement, Maya. On the contrary, we serve a much greater purpose." "Is that code for white man's agenda?" "No, Maya. I mean exactly that. A greater purpose that involves all humans, more diverse and inclusive than you could ever imagine." Maya took another puff. "Got enough problems of my own without the rest of the world's issues. Cut to the chase, chica. What this got to do with me?" Another mourner, leaving the funeral home, nodded at Maya as he crossed the lot. Maya ignored him. Riri pulled a business card from her inside pocket and offered it to Maya. "Doesn't it anger you that your brother died?" Riri asked her. "My brother was murdered," Maya corrected. "A cop murdered him. Driving while black, there's a difference, chica." Riri kept her arm extended, card in hand, but Maya didn't take it, only took another puff from her Camel. Riri retracted her hand and placed the card back in her pocket. She studied Maya's face for a moment, then spoke. "You're right," she agreed. "He was murdered. You know it, and so do myself and my associates. We've studied the case. and we want to give you a chance to make it right." Maya laughed again. "Right? Officer Alvin Weber, on a slab, like Levi. That's the only way any of this will ever be right." "I can't guarantee that," Riri said. "Then what good are you?" Maya spat. "Good enough to offer you a chance to get your brother back." Maya saw red. "Get the heck away from me, lady. Estás loco." Riri took a step back but continued talking. "You believe in miracles, Maya? But now he's dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he will not return to me. Miracles are..." Maya shoved Riri. When the woman barely moved, she began to regret it, but there was no turning back. The fire was hot on her skin again, leaking from the furnace of her gut. She pulled the camel from her teeth and threatened Riri with it. "You don't get out of here, I'm gonna put this cigarrillo out in your pretty eye, no cap." Riri, much bigger than her would-be assailant, raised her hands in submission, nodded. "I'm leaving, Maya. No need for that. That was not my intention. Just remember this offer only lasts 3 days, 72 hours. After that, it'll be gone forever. 3 days to meet me at the specified location, the coordinates on the back of the card." But Maya only stared at her, knowing she never took the business card. Her eyes became slits. She stared down the bizarre woman and said nothing, hoping that she would take the hint and leave. "Hija?" Someone called from the side door a couple of feet away. Both women looked over to see Maya's father, Manuel, limping toward them, walking cane in hand. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "Everything's good, papi," Maya said. "This nice lady here was just leaving. She came to pay her respects. Now she's gotta go." "Right," Riri agreed, her eyes staying on Maya a bit longer. She then turned to Manuel and shook his hand. "I am terribly sorry for your loss, Mr. Warfield. Levi was a good kid." Thank you," Manuel said. "And please, Manny, you, work with my son?" Maya bit her lip, cringing at her father saying work, still in present tense. She took a long, final drag and flicked the barely smoked cigarette into the lot. Riri shook her head. "The college, then?" Manny pressed. Before Riri could answer, Maya grabbed her father by the arm and gently began leading him toward her El Camino. "Papi, let the nice lady leave. She's very busy." Okay, he mumbled. As the two walked away, Riri whispered, "Time and chance, Maya. Your time and your chance." And then, like the fall wind, Riri was gone. Men talk of killing time, while time quietly kills them. Dion Boucicault. The machines beeped and whirred, keeping a steady rhythm for an unsteady heart. When would the unsteady beating of the heart stop? Maya didn't know. She sat still, listening to the robot sounds that were keeping her comatose father alive, trying to love him and not hate him all at the same time. She clutched the note in her hand, the one he left behind, furious with its words. As the hospital's ventilator forced life into Manuel's body, his only surviving child forced words into the silence of the room. She did not hold back. "How could you forgive him, Papi? I won't. Levi should still be here, with us." Maya looked over at her father in his hospital bed, his body small and still, save the ventilator and its pneumatic movements pushing air into his lungs. She looked away, focused on the sky outside the windows as the overcast moved in. 1 second, we're suing the department. Now you want to let it go. I don't see the brains in that. I don't see the sanity. Believing what happened to Manito was an accident? You heard Weber's words, Papi. I know you did. That really sounds like remordimiento to you? Manuel said nothing. His eyes remained closed. his body still. The doctor walked in. Maya rose from her chair, stuffing her father's note into her pocket. "Hello, Mrs. Warfield?" the doctor asked. "Maya, his daughter," Maya corrected. The woman briefly shook hands. "I'm Dr. Greenbaum," she said. "Your father—" Greenbaum began. "We were able to restart his heart and pump some of the meds out of his stomach before they were all absorbed into his bloodstream. But he's not breathing on his own, and organ failure is considerable. One kidney has failed, and the other probably will soon. His liver—" Dr. Greenbaum continued to speak, but Maya was no longer listening. She didn't need to. She knew what bad news sounded like. It was far from her first rodeo. As the good doctor went the long way around, telling her how her father would soon be dead alongside her brother, Maya's thoughts drifted to the one who started this domino effect, Officer Weber. It was people like him that made the world hell to live in. People like him that made hell itself a necessary place to exist. It wasn't long before Dr. Greenbaum hit Maya with the dreaded list of questions. Discontinue life support or not? Organ donor? Last will and testament? But Maya wasn't ready to answer any of those things. Faced with the impending tragedy, a tragedy that was now as sure as the sun itself, her mind became obsessed with the only question that really mattered. It echoed in her memory now, louder than ever, spoken to her by a stranger. "You believe in miracles, Maya?" the stranger had asked. "No," Maya had said in her heart, though she never said it out loud. And even now, she still did not want to believe. But she decided, if only for peace of mind, she needed to be certain that she was right. "I have seen something else under the sun. The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned, but time and chance happen to them all." Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 11. The 87 El Camino roared as they ate up the road of Interstate I-40 to Knoxville, a mass of gloomy, gray clouds overhead. Maya drove with determination, trying to find a balance between speed and safety. It had almost been 69 hours since the mysterious Riri had made the offer, and the clock was ticking. Maya's foot dug into the pedal as she checked her rear view mirror, half expecting to see those familiar flashing red and blue lights. Those lights had left her family, her life, in shambles one Friday night, only 10 days ago. 10 days. 10 days for a family to be destroyed and for Maya to lose her sanity. Yes, common horse sense was lost for her. Why else would she find herself speeding to a city she had no interest in, to meet with a creepy stranger, all for a chance to do something that was physically impossible? Love makes you do crazy things, as they say. But revenge is a dish best served cold. Love was plan A, but revenge was plan B. The latter was an option she only considered if the former didn't work out. But she prayed to God that she wouldn't need that backup plan. Even with as much hatred as she had for Officer Weber, executing plan B would be unthinkable, deplorable, inhumane, and deep down, she wanted to believe she was better than that. The GPS eventually led Maya to Interstate I-81, and from there, exit 424. A mile and a half later, she was driving down Oak Grove Road, and then she was at Douglas Lake. As she pulled the car to a stop, her phone began to glitch. Getting out, she stared at her phone, not believing where the GPS was telling her to go. ¿Qué demonios? She swore. "You're in the right place," a familiar voice said. Maya watched Riri emerge from the cluster of trees near the shoreline, her appearance more stunning than it was during their first meeting 3 days ago. Riri was wearing an elegant green gown, the vibrant hue matching the color of her eyes to perfection. The necklace she wore was made of crystal beads. They reflected the orange light of the evening sun as it sank into the horizon. Maya saw that she was barefoot as she made her way through the dead leaves on the ground. Riri grinned. "Welcome, Maya. I was hoping you would make it." Maya, still with phone in hand, looked out at the lake. "I ain't understanding. My phone is glitching. Started as soon as I got here. It says the location. Is a 1/4 mile into that body of water?" "Yes," Riri finished. "No mistake, Maya. The chance, the offer made to you, is right there in its depths. It's there waiting for you. Levi is waiting." Maya locked her phone, shoved it back into her hoodie pocket. Pulling out a cigarette and lighter, she began to light up, but the wind kicked suddenly and she found herself unable to do so. "You sure you want to do that?" Riri asked her, pointing to the lake. "I would reserve my oxygen for the swim if I were you." Maya ignored her and lit up anyway. "You really think I'm going in there, chica? You're crazier than I thought." The woman nodded and took several steps away toward the shoreline. She gazed at the lake, but spoke to Maya. "Yes, I do. You didn't come all this way just to inform us that you were not going to take advantage of this. This is a miracle, and you know it, don't you, Maya?" Maya had to admit to herself something she couldn't explain. Her memory went back to the first evening, to the first time she met Riri. It was at the end of Levi's funeral. After Maya had rejected her cryptic offer, she had driven her father Manny back to his house to participate in a small memorial reception for her brother. It was a small gathering of close friends and family. The food was good, but the stories of Levi were so much better. Maya had left early because of a headache. She had started having them at least once a day since that terrible night, and it was always when she dwelt too long on her dearly departed fraternal twin. It was only after she came back to her own home that she realized she still had several envelopes meant for her father, given her by mourners during Levi's service and burial. She had known that those sympathy cards would contain money. Money she'd known that her father could put to good use in the coming weeks. As she had removed them from her purse, she flipped through them, and that was when she had found it. The card, right there, wedged between 2 envelopes in the pile. Impossible. Maya had known for a fact that she had never taken the card from Riri, yet there it was. Somehow it had made its way into her purse. She had gazed at the card for nearly an hour afterwards, trying to talk herself into believing that it had happened through logical means. The hand is quicker than the eye after all, but Maya knew the truth. Magic. Aside from that, Maya knew there would be no justice for her precious baby brother, and her father had known it too. Levi's death broke him. It was the very next day that Maya had the unfortunate experience of finding her father unconscious, having overdosed on painkillers. The note he had left behind before his attempt said it all. 5 hours later, as Maya watched Manuel Jose Warfield fight for his life at Ascension St. Thomas West, she had decided to come here. Her family was dead and dying, no doubt, and if she could somehow find a way to change that, any way, wasn't it worth the risk? "Okay, bruja," Maya said. "I'm here. What do I have to do to save my brother?" Riri clapped her hands, grinned. "That's the spirit, Maya. The path is, as I said, out there in that lake. Swim out and keep your thoughts on that night. what you were doing, where you were prior to his death. Maya began walking back to El Camino. I've got a few things I need to take. Maya's heart jumped out of her chest. Riri was suddenly standing in front of her, blocking her path to the car. Somehow, the woman had moved a good 15 feet in an instant. Mi Dios en el cielo, Maya howled. Quédate atrás, bruja. Riri brought her hand up and shook her head. I'm sorry, Maya, but no baggage allowed. It must be you and you alone. Nothing can be taken, not even your clothes. Maya only paused for a moment. She then removed her hoodie, let it fall to the ground. As she began unbuttoning her shirt, Riri did not turn away, only waited. Maya frowned. When Riri saw the look on her face, she turned her attention back to the lake. This satisfied Maya, as she was able to strip down quickly and in peace. Shoes, shirt, jeans, and undergarments came off. Once she was stark naked, she looked at Riri with a glint in her eye. I just want you to know, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna come out of that lake and shoot you in the head, bruja. No cap. Riri nodded in understanding. Maya marched past her. She walked to the edge of the lake, and then onward. As she moved forward, the water level rose, and within seconds she was chest deep. The water was warmer than she imagined. Dog paddling in place, she took one last look at the setting sun and then turned back to the shoreline. Sure enough, Riri was still there, watching her. With that, Maya turned and dove in. She swam fast, remembering Riri's words. Maya focused her thoughts on the night Levi was killed, where she was shortly before it happened. Her feet no longer touched the bottom as she swam deeper into the lake. Coming up for air, the aroma of maple and salt water tickled her nose. Once she was out far enough, she rotated her body to face the shoreline again. Along with the last rays of sunlight, Riri was gone. And then Maya saw it, the shadows. They spread out from the shoreline, inky fingers weaving into the body of water. As the shadows made their way to her, Maya mumbled a prayer to God. They leaked into the water around her, numbing her limbs. She shivered as the temperature dropped, the blackness becoming cold as ice. She fought to swallow her fear, knowing she needed to keep her mind on her brother. Maya began sinking into the murky, dark depths, her head bobbing up for one final breath of air. The shadows pulled her under. Coming too far to panic now, she didn't fight them. As she sank deeper into the water and its shadows, she opened her eyes. Only darkness. Deeper she sank, deeper, deeper still, as the shadows hugged her body, invading her from the inside out, tasting her sadness and rage. She was out of air now, and she knew she would not make it back to the surface. She didn't even know where it was anymore. The shadows had taken all known senses from her very being. She was without a body now, a consciousness without a home, free from all constraints. Constraints like space and time. She could hold her breath no longer, breathed in, but not water, shadows. Maya breathed in the shadows. Maya became the shadows. And then darkness, silence, nothing. For a very long time. Maya opened her eyes. The light hurt them. The fluorescent bulbs overhead, bright and steady. The numbness that had overtaken every sensation was gone now, and Maya could feel her own body again. She lifted her hands, gazing at them as she sat. They were covered in black and white smudges of paint? No, makeup. She stood up from her messy desk, realizing where she was. Chilton's art studio. She would come weekly, religiously, to help teach art. And then it all came back to her, a freight train charging through her skull. Everything. Levi, the deal with Riri, the lake and its shadows were all remembered. This was the night her brother was killed. The aroma of the Calavera Foundation wafted to her nose, and she staggered over to a small mirror on the art studio's right side wall. A young woman stared back at her, face fully painted in sugar skull makeup. A black cross was drawn on the forehead of the pale painted face, along with large black circles around her eyes. Black suture designs adorned her puffy lips, and a dark tuft of hair framed her slender jawline. That week, the studio had hosted a special Halloween art and makeup training class, Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. The irony hit Maya for the first time. "Looking good, Maya. Pretty cool. That an original design?" Maya looked up to see fellow local artist Turner Cook standing behind her. Turner was into creating celebrity pop art, which was never Maya's style. She had always thought he was cute, though, even for a white boy. And even if he was a TMC culture junkie. Maya looked at him through the mirror, didn't turn around. "This ain't mine, Cook," she said. "You heard of the comic book El Muerto?" "Nope," Turner said. "No, wait, the one with the rock star in a leather jacket with a giant raven on his shoulder, right?" Maya shook her head in mock disgust. "Leave it to you to only recognize a white guy's creation. That's the Crow. I'm talking El Muerto, Javier Hernandez. Google him. He's the dopest." Turner whipped out his phone and hurried off. Maya did too. The reason she was here, back, in the forefront of her mind again. She went to the coat rack near the entrance door of the studio and put on her gray hoodie. Taking one last look back, she saw the room was occupied by 10 or so students, all happily painting their faces and involved in their own worlds. She only allowed herself a couple of seconds to mourn the moment. Then she left the studio. Outside, Maya sprinted to her El Camino. Unlocking the door, she got in and dialed her brother. 3 rings in, she got his voicemail. "The subscriber you are trying to reach is not available." Maya skipped the introduction. It beeped. "Levi, it's me, Maya. As soon as you get this message, you need to call me. Or papi. It's so important, manito. Please, corazón, please call me." Maya hung up. She pulled a half-smoked pack of Camels from her hoodie pocket and jammed a single between her teeth. As she lit up, she noticed her hands were trembling. She ignored it, grabbed her phone again, dialed her father. "Hello?" Manny said on the other end. "Papi?" Maya answered, her voice shaking. "Listen, I need you to call Levi. Get him on the phone." "¿Qué pasó?" Manny asked. "Nothing, papi. Nothing's wrong. I just need to see you too. Soon. Mi sol." "I'm okay, papi. Just please get Levi on the phone and get him to the house. I'll explain when I'm there." Maya hung up the phone before her father could protest. She looked at the time. 8:18 p.m. The brain fog was starting to clear. She knew her brother was going to be killed by Officer Weber around 9:26 p.m., giving her roughly a little over an hour to save him and change fate. She pulled her keys from her jean pocket and started the car. Although Maya had always planned to take weapons along for the journey, Riri had ruined it, or rather, the magic rules that govern time travel had nixed it. Now, with limited resources, Maya was sure that a direct confrontation with Weber was suicide. She needed leverage, and she knew just how to get it. She gripped the steering wheel, accepting that the circumstances given her left her with one choice. Plan B. The clock was ticking. The El Camino peeled out of the worn parking lot of the art studio, fast heading toward a very specific destination. 9:31 p.m. Maya stood over 25-year-old Casey Weber in silence, the switchblade in her hand. Casey, sitting on the loft sofa of her suburban Madison home, rubbed at her belly. Officer Alvin D. Weber, Casey's husband, would be arriving any minute. As Maya gazed at Weber's wife, she became angry that he had come to this. This was not who she was, and it was not who she wanted to be. But love makes you do. Well, you know the rest of it. Casey didn't meet her captor's gaze. She was too busy looking at the knife in her hand. She could only think about what that knife would do to her belly if this crazy woman chose to use it. More precisely, what it would do to the 35-week fetus inside of it. It had not taken much for Maya to bully her way into their house at knife point. It was made terribly simple by life's circumstances. Mrs. Weber had received a call from the local florist that a late delivery from her husband was incoming. Maya, hood on, had posed as the delivery clerk for said florist, carrying a bouquet of flowers to the doorstep of the mother-to-be. Casey had opened the door, thirsty for the romance, and that was it. From there, Maya had Casey make the necessary calls, under her very specific conditions, of course. "Is it a boy?" Maya asked softly. Casey took her eyes away from the blade. When Maya saw them, they were wet, reddish. "No," Casey whispered back. "It's a girl." "You named her yet?" "Lindsay," Casey said, then hesitated. "Please, don't hurt my baby. Don't do this." Maya looked around the living room, thinking about her words. "This ain't me, but your husband. He's a piece of... He's not who you think he is." "What?" Casey asked, her face frowning. "We don't even know you." "Sweetheart, Casey?" Both women looked toward the front door, to where Weber's voice had come from. Maya grabbed Casey by the hair and yanked her onto her feet. Her face contorted as Maya pulled her close and pressed the blade to her belly. "Silencio! Quiet!" Maya hissed in her ear, then yelled, "Doors open!" The door opened. Alvin Weber, in full patrol uniform, stepped into the living room, gun drawn, his face plastered with rage and fear. Up close, Maya saw that he was not a very large man, though he was very fit. She even took note that he appeared much younger than he looked in his family pictures, looked to be around the same age as she and Levi. As he pointed his 9mm Beretta in her direction, Maya hugged Casey Weber tightly, pressing the serrated edge of the switchblade onto her baby paunch. Casey moaned. "Stop it!" Weber screamed. "Don't you do it! Drop the knife!" Maya saw the scowl beneath his handlebar mustache, the sweat on his brow, and the tremble in his grip. She smiled without joy. "You see that, Weber? That's what I was waiting for. A spark of humanity. So there is some part of you that's human after all. Some part of you that cares about someone other than the man in the mirror." Weber used his elbow to rub the sweat of his forehead, but kept his gun trained on Maya. "I don't know who you are or what you're talking about, but you've made a mistake, a big mistake." "Is that what you were going to tell the kid in the blue Monte Carlo tonight?" His eyes grew large with connection. "How did you know about—" "'Cause I've seen that episode already," Maya said. "I saw what you did to him. They brought me into that tiny room. My brother. They showed me what you left of his face. You have no idea what it's like to see your favorite person in the whole world reduced to nothing. But I can fix that." Maya hiked up Casey's shirt, pressed the blade. A tiny drop of blood. "Alvin," Casey whined. Okay, stop! Weber screamed, taking his aim off Maya. Maya let off pressure. I'm putting my weapon down, Weber continued. Just don't hurt my wife or the baby, okay? Whatever you're pissed, angry about, it's got nothing to do with them. Weber knelt and placed his gun on the floor. He stood back to his feet with his hands in the air. Maya gestured at the gun with her knife-wielding hand. The gun, Alvin. Kick it over. He did as he was told. He slid the Beretta across to Maya, who stopped it with her foot. Hold this, she told Casey, placing the switchblade into her sweaty hands. Maya reached down, grabbed the Beretta, and aimed it at the officer. She let go of Casey. Maya didn't take her eyes off Weber as she spoke. Mrs. Weber, you can leave now. Vamos. And keep the knife. Your tigre and I won't be needing it. Casey backed away from Maya, knife in hand. As she headed for the door, she stopped to look at her husband. He kept his eyes on Maya, hands still up. Do what she says, sweetheart, he told her. I love you, Casey mumbled, and then went out the front door. Maya and Weber stood in the living room, eyes locked. He laughed. You think that Mexican ghost face paint going to stop us from finding out who you are? Maya said nothing. She let him talk. This would make the next part easier. Even with the paint, you look like some type of mulata, but nah, no blood of the gods in you, huh? Let me guess. Part beaner, part jungle bunny, right? Something like that, Maya said. You're dead, Sister Senorita. How's that? Maya's phone vibrated. She kept the gun trained on Weber, pulled the phone from her jean pocket. The screen read, Levi. Relief hit Maya. An overwhelming relief, like when you awakened from a nightmare you knew was so real. Levi. Alive. Changed the future. Bruja wasn't gapping. Alive. Alvin Weber bawled into Maya with the force of a bull, knocking her down. Both the handgun and phone flew from her hands. The gun landing on the glass coffee table in front of the sofa, the phone, God knows where. The two of them hit the floor hard. The air left Maya's lung like it does a whoopee cushion sat on by a fat man. She turned over and gasped, but Weber flattened her onto her back, straddled her. He rained down punches into her face, one after another, bloodying her nose, lips, and swelling an eye in a matter of seconds. Weber then wrapped his hands around Maya's throat. You stupid beaner crow witch! You put your filthy hands on my wife? My wife? Maya couldn't break Weber's grip. She was being strangled to death, and there was nothing she could do about it. As he choked her, her vision became blurry, and the shadows inside her began to seep out of her nose and mouth. Weber recoiled. What in the... Maya shoved her knee into his groin. Weber yelped. She pushed him off and staggered to her feet. She headed for the gun, but Weber snatched her down by the ankles. She fell forward through the coffee table, glass exploding everywhere. Weber grunted in pain and pulled himself on top of Maya again. Alvin! Cassie yelled. Weber looked up to see his wife Casey had come back into the house. She was still holding the switchblade that Maya had given her. Toss me the knife, he yelled. Casey tossed it. Weber caught it by the handle and brought the knife down. Maya twisted her body at the last second, but the blade found her shoulder. She screamed. Weber raised the blood-slicked knife, trying for her chest again, but it was too late. Maya had the gun. Bang! 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 7 shots. Weber leaned back, dropped the knife, and crumpled to the floor. Stopped moving. But Maya stood up. Weber began to snore, moan. Maya raised the gun again, then lowered it, realizing the truth. Not snoring, the death rattle. Abuelita, lung cancer. Levi and I were in the 4th grade. Casey did not scream. Her husband was just killed, and she did not scream. Maya turned around. The wife of Aubin Weber was sprawled on the floor, a stray bullet in her stomach. As blood pooled around her still body, Maya tapped the barrel of the gun on her own forehead, her eyes glassy. The worst means had been enacted to achieve the best outcome. Plan B? Gone too far. Was this the price to save her brother's life? 3 lives for the price of 1? Maya's phone vibrated again. It took her a full minute to find it. The fight had sent it flying. She found it under the recliner on the far end of the living room. She had one voicemail, Levi. As she listened, she began to hear police sirens in the distance. Maya, it's me. What's going on? I got you and Papi's message, and I'm here. I'm here with Papi, and you're not. Where are you, manita? Call us. We love you, hermosa. Relief came back. Levi was safe. Maya looked around. Blood was everywhere. The room smelled like copper, like pennies. With her body battered and aching, Maya placed her phone in her pocket and hobbled out of the living room. She went into the dining room and through the kitchen. As she exited the back door, the cool night air greeted her. The police sirens grew louder. She cut through the backyard, gun in hand, and headed for the El Camino, having parallel parked across the street. Several neighbors of the Webers gawked at her. The sirens grew louder still. Maya got into the driver's seat. The noise and the cherries were at the crescendo now, and she could see through her good eye the patrol cars approaching at the end of the street, blue lights flashing. Too late. Maya smiled through her split lip and broken teeth. Pulling out a cigarette, she lit up, but she never took a puff. Instead, she puked up the shadows. The numbness returned, and so did the darkness, and of course, silence. Moreover, no one knows when their hour will come. As fish are caught in a cruel net, or birds are taken in a snare, so people are trapped by evil times that fall unexpectedly upon them. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 12. Maya's eyes fluttered open. The lights of the white room were as bright as ever. She brought her hands to her face, felt like a craggy relief map beneath her fingers. She realized she was sitting down, her wrists and ankles chained, handcuffed. She was wearing an orange jumpsuit. A tall, well-dressed woman with a briefcase sat down in front of her, facing her directly. The two of them were separated by a giant partition of reinforced glass. The woman picked up the phone receiver on her side of the wall and waited. Maya noticed her own receiver and followed suit. The woman spoke. "Do you remember me, Maya?" the woman asked. Maya looked at her. The brain fog was thick, and she worked hard to shake it. And then she recognized her. The dark, glowing skin, the bright green, almost yellow eyes, those darn yellow eyes, soulless eyes. "Riri," Maya said. "Right," Riri affirmed. "I see you took your chance, and lucky for you, not too much time. You wouldn't believe how many remained submerged for too long, but I'm guessing you didn't see this coming, did you?" Maya shook her head. "It doesn't matter. My brother is safe. If I had to do it again, I'd do it. Fair trade." "Is it fair trade?" Levi doesn't think so. "What are you talking about?" Maya asked. Just like his sister, Levi wants to change fate. A triple homicide? A decorated cop and his family? "A corrupt cop," Maya amended. "Doesn't matter. Easily enough for a life conviction. With the baby killer charge, maybe even the needle. We're offering your brother a chance to make it all go away for you." Maya grimaced, split lip and all. "If you lay a finger on mi hermano, te mataré, bruja." Riri leaned forward, placing her hand on the glass. "If you can play God, why can't he?" Maya bowed her head. "He'll get himself killed." "You're twins, and that's as much credit as you give him?" The two said nothing for several seconds. Maya finally broke the silence. When you gave me this chance, I never asked why. I didn't care, not then. But now, you're giving Levi the same song and dance. That's got me feeling some type of way. So I gotta know, what's in this for you, Bruja? Riri gazed at Maya for a long moment, those darn yellow eyes piercing her through. A girl's gotta eat, she said.
Eversion by Alexneverdies. The future is written. You just haven't read it yet. The ink is dried without edits. The journey has been decided. Yet, a gravitational phenomenon allows some to read the story backwards. Those who control power in the past control the future. The furthest back in time is the victor. A once fierce competition to create a microcosm of black holes is now entirely dominated by one country, the United States of America. The war was finished before anyone knew it started. This technology is highly guarded in an unknown base in the middle of a mountain called the Time Agency. The fear of these designs ever getting out would throw all existence into chaos. When traveling backward, the fear of adjustments is the same way we treat nuclear bomb threats and artificial intelligence. Everything is a security watch maximum. Anywhere, anywhen, including the Precambrian, Proterozoic, Jurassic, Paleolithic, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Ancient Greece, Renaissance, American Revolution and Industrial Revolution. In their dabbling, the agencies have never discovered an actual time shift. But how would they ever know? What would it feel like if things weren't the same? The Time Agency facility is sterile and built with 400,000 cubic feet of concrete. The further down the level, the more prevalent time travel equipment is kept. On the bottom floor is the hangar. The room is dome-shaped, and every word echoes, but no one will ever hear besides those who are cleared. The oddest thing is that it's entirely closed off, with no ships that can fly in or out. They only ever appear. An extension of the hangar is an all-white room that has been connected and airlocked for over a month. The room has a one-way mirror, so those inside can look out. In this room are two individuals, Lucy Hill and Chris Mercado. They're teammates, friends and co-workers, so much so that in all the secluded days, neither of them has ever felt feelings for the other. A friendship derived from the discussion of time. The extreme isolation has never cracked their psyches, since both are professionals, time travelers. The first 30 days of the protocol in the chamber are almost complete. In dealing with other time travelers, Lucy and Christopher are not meant to interact with anyone except each other. The crew wears masks to hide their identity. They load the Eversion full of supplies for the mission, camping equipment, food, and disguises. The Grand Eversion is a vessel that can travel back in time. Its hull is shiny and chrome and takes flight with undisclosed technology. When high enough in the air, it's almost impossible to see. The interior has been retrofitted with all the accommodations an American flyer would want. The seats are comfortable for sleep, and the air temperature automatically adjusts to keep the traveler comfortable. Tomorrow, we do it again, Lucy says to Christopher. Trip back into the past. You and I return to a world forgotten. Incredible, I know. Never gets old, Christopher says hesitantly. I'm a little nervous heading into this flight. Maybe we could finish up the briefing before we start reminiscing. This ain't no rodeo for us, Chris. We done this for 19 years now? Relative to the span of the universe, there would still be only an infinitesimal number of missions. If one thing goes wrong, all is shifted. Do you know what they will do to us if we cause something like that? Banishment. A tale as old as time. Banished from time, something my mind can't even comprehend. That's not going to happen. Even if it did, it couldn't be any worse than my life's current path. I've observed all the secrets of the universe, and you'd think I'd have the answers to be this wise woman, but I'm still a peon, never finding out what my daughter's death meant. I'm sorry, Lulu. I know that has been hard. Do you want to cancel the mission? I'd understand, and wouldn't hold it against you. No. So, you okay? Let me change one thing. I'm not altering religion or political control. Let me alter 1 year of our lives. Let me save my daughter from that night. Surely there's something you wish you could change. It'll be our secret. No, I'm not going to let you alter history. Lulu, be careful with what you say. You never know who's listening. I wish I could go back and see Grandpa one last time, but I know I can't. I have nothing left except this job. What am I even living for? Why would you be the special one that gets to play God? Life is pain. Everyone will suffer. If you use your privilege to undo your burdens, it's entirely unfair. Losing her was unfair. I dedicated my entire life to research, and this is what I got. I could have been there for her. We're talking eternal hell, wiped from existence, all because you can't accept your own story. You're right. Lucy takes a seat and calms herself. It must be this room. Cabin fever. It's almost over. This is between you and me. I promise I'm not about to rat you out. But please, don't come to me with a request like that again. There's a date when Lucy lost everything. August 29th, 2025. Everything is connected to the day her daughter died. The pressure created stress beyond what she could handle. Everything crumbled. She still questions what would have happened if she had changed that day. She even keeps coordinates by heart. How many parents would give anything to have their child back? For Lucy, though, reaching back in time to speak to a child could cause so much destruction for humanity. That's what weighs on her shoulders. The day of the mission arrives in the morning. Lucy and Chris wake up in their bunks, putting the entire conversation from last night behind them. Both pass their physicals and health checks. A simple fever could mean the end of everything, and a deadly disease would transfer without any medical stoppage. On exiting the ISO room, the two are hit with an automatic spray to clean any bacteria on the skin. The Eversion is ready to launch. The saucer-shaped ship can travel in any direction at a breakneck speed. The shielding is thick enough to filter out all the radiation. The cabin is secured, and oxygen is pumped inside. Lucy and Christopher strap into their seats and check all the gauges. Chris was a pilot for the Air Force, so his admin position brought him up to one of the first captains of this technology. Lucy was a researcher on the original time travel program. She navigated and tracked the solar system rotation. Before setting off for their destination, Lucy always puts it on August 29th, 2025, and thinks about that day. It's her starting point. She wonders what it would mean to her to return to that point. Everything's set on my end, Chris says. I logged another 1,000 hours on the simulator. Do we know if it'll be day or night on the location? Looks like the day, Lucy informs with quick calculations. We're gonna be a few thousand miles from orbit. We can hang back and wait until nighttime. Sounds like a plan. Chris replies, flickering a few switches. Are you feeling any better from last night? There's nothing to talk about. I'm turning off the comms. You can talk freely. I'm not going to say anything. Lulu, things are tough, but let's get on the same page. It's been a rough year, but you said you wanted to work. If you don't start talking, I'm canceling this mission here. Don't do that. Communicate. Having a moment of weakness is okay, but I want to hear your words. We're partners in this. Yeah, I'm having trouble. About your daughter? No, she has been on my mind, but I'm tired. My soul is tired, and I'm empty. I feel like a wilted oak flower dying from the sun. Yet winter's about to round the corner and cover me with snow. I'm sorry. It's okay if you want to sit for a second. I think I'm retiring after this mission. I'm gonna miss you, kid. I understand. I think that's a good plan. This mission will be the last time you see me. I know. But it won't be the last time I see you, Christopher says, turning his headset back on. Building another hangar with top-secret priority is unnecessary when one could be shared through the proper schedule. Before the mind can even comprehend what happens, the Eversion has disappeared. Lucy and Chris are no longer here, but in another place in time. The room is empty, with a clock ticking from the next ship's arrival tomorrow. The Contra vessel returns in another hour. This hangar shuffles time travels all day, every day. The Eversion arrived on the outskirts of space around 300 AD. The blue marble known as Earth contains people of different mindsets. It is a brutal place where so much is left to believe in the supernatural. Aliens are the only way to describe Lucy and Chris. Maybe angels. From a distance, they precisely monitor where they will land. The target is the middle of the arena of Nims. Chris hovers his probing eye over the arena to watch today's exhibition. The art and schooling of Gladiator is still practiced at this location. Chris zooms into the pit for a perfect view. The signal is crystal clear. You know what they say, time travel is space travel. Chris says, space travel without mission control. At least we made it without teleporting inside of a meteorite. I know a crew that's happened to. Did they live? One did. The other had a hole in his chest. Ha ha, Lucy says sarcastically. I'm gonna get some shut-eye before we fly down. Adios. I'm gonna get my history lesson. Chris devilishly says, how many chances do I get to see a time when men could just be men? And cut each other's throats. Rarely manly, Lucy says sarcastically. Chris leans back and enjoys the show while grabbing a squeezable pack of ice cream and staying wide awake. Chris's screen shows lions devouring humans. Teeth tucking at the throat. Skin is stripped from the body as the man screams. Gallons of blood spilled in the sand. Roars. Cheers. Chris can only laugh at this kind of stuff. Lucy takes a nap. She closes a window and puts on a sleep mask. For some, this is the best sleep they will ever get. For others, how can they sleep knowing they're hovering in the infinite void? In her dream, Lucy spoke to her daughter. Burdette is still a 5-year-old child, and they're having a tea party. It's like a memory she never had. Lucy didn't spend much time at Burdette during the peak of her time travel research. After the festivities, everyone leaves the arena, just like watching the Cowboys play on Sunday. Chris begins their descent. A little alarm bell goes off to wake Lucy. The Eversion breaks through the atmosphere, dispersing all the heat through the outer vents. The ship silently hovers above the city. Some farmers notice, but will only ever explain it as the gods. Lulu, time to wake up, Chris says. Could you not wake me up first before you start descent? Lucy groggily says. Using their biological scanners, they've determined that no signs of life are inside the stadium. The Eversion lands without sound. The landing gear delicately touches the sand like a ballerina's tiptoe. The engine doesn't even hum. It can output enough energy to power modern-day New York. Christopher and Lucy exit the Eversion. While Christopher sets up the dirt punch, Lucy prepares markers to bury into the ground. The marker is a round ball that emits a signal that'll make time travel to a location much more manageable. Eventually, time travel will happen on Earth without needing a spaceship, and this dedicated mark will make the trajectory perfect, a decided location to plant the sphere. Usually around iconic tourist locations, the punch splits the ground downward into a small cylindrical tube, churning the dirt. The round ball slowly falls into the deep earth. Lucy sits in silence while the machine buries the marker. Christopher walks away from the ship and holds a digital camera. Personal items aren't allowed, but he must have snuck one with him. Keep track of the implantation, Chris says. I'm gonna walk around and get a view of the place and take some pictures. You got onto me about causing a time shift? I'm not touching anything. Chris snaps a picture of Lucy. If you have a problem with it, I won't go. Ever since I've been a pilot, I've always taken pictures of my destination. I think this is a little different, don't you think? I'll be back in 5 minutes. Chris leaves. The dirt punch finishes and the sphere is buried. The surface solidifies until it doesn't look like anything was ever dug in. Lucy removes the punch and loads it back into the Eversion. She pulled out the digital metal detector and found the marker correctly implanted. Lucy notices some red in the sand. She picks up a handful and watches it pour through her fingers. It dawns on her that the red is blood. All the sand is soaked. Those haunting images of lions mangling humans, their bodies ripped and shredded. Clumps. She begins to get squeamish. Death happens throughout all periods. Some never see it coming, and most die for no reason. She can't help but see her daughter on this field, mauled for entertainment. Lucy runs back into the Eversion to avoid any biological fluids leaving her body. If she throws up, it's more trouble. She puts on her oxygen mask and calms herself down. She breathes long enough to get lightheaded. Lucy sits ready to return to the hangar. Chris has 1 minute to get back. She set the dial to August 29th, 2025. A finger hovers over the button. A hand trembles. What if? No one would even know she's gone. The outcome pulls Lucy in 2 different directions. Is it worth the eternal hell of banishment for the return of her daughter? The lectures that history is always written only piss her off. Is it possible everything is predetermined? Even if you want to change things, you can't. Lucy presses the button, a spiteful press. Time is almost a deity with no face, only punishment. She wants to prove time wrong. Radiation vibrates through the ship. The blip of existence moved further down the line. G-force ripples through Lucy's body as she grips the seat. The pilot typically stabilizes the Eversion, but all she can do is hang on for the ride. Lucy arrives at the date, spinning and flipping. She almost loses consciousness, but she grabs the controller and finds balance. The flight simulator would have reviewed the scenario, but she hasn't had to log as many hours. The cross-training is effective, but Chris always encourages each other to stay in their lane. Lucy descends. Fear sets in when she looks down, coming in hot off the Earth's rotation. The Eversion stops a few thousand feet from the ground. Lucy activates the scanner to find her daughter's exact location. She knows the wreck will occur in the next 4 hours, so there isn't much time to waste. She inputs coordinates for a couple of locations: her daughter's apartment, her boyfriend's house, or the school. Somewhere on Earth, her daughter is out there. Somewhere on Earth, Lucy's double is out there. Meeting herself could be devastating, but that is something she knows never to do. Burdette is located a few miles off the campus. She's at a party. Lucy has all the time in the world, as long as she returns to the Roman period and completes the loop. She needs to be slow and precise. Breaking through the atmosphere is jarring, especially for someone doing this alone. That night, the Eversion looks like a meteor, and little does Lucy know that Burdette soared the time-traveling spaceship. Her daughter makes a wish on the shooting star. She wishes for success in college and to one day impress her mother with a lovely house, a career and a husband. Touchdown on the science building. Lucy exits the ship and strips her gear enough to look like a civilian. She spots the frat house in the distance. It'll be about a mile hike through the dark, But that's where Burdette is. Before she climbs down the ladder, the Eversion alarms trigger. Another time travel spacecraft has entered the vicinity. She looks up and sees a blink mixed in the stars. Who is it? Lucy doesn't have to care. She needs to change things. The party is full of students celebrating their first week of school. A slow, steady electronic bass beats in the distance. The sound of electricity pulses in the air. For Lucy, it's another place in time. Kids are the same no matter where they land. It's the environment that dictates them. If she had known how bad the drug problem had gotten at school, she would have advised Burdette to go somewhere else. Lucy sneaks around the back of the frat house, where students bounce to the music. Everyone is drunk, so she'll be relatively unseen as long as no one questions what the old hag is doing here. She throws a coat over her shoulder and hides under the hood. At the top, Burdette sets legs between the bars of the balcony. Lucy watches with longing, a mother and daughter both trying to fill holes in their lives. Lucy slips through the path of students, stepping around every party-goer, never letting the target get too far away. Undoubtedly, time will shift. At worst, a few years are being redone. Lucy finds Burdette between conversations upstairs. Young men all slip in to see if they have a chance. That toxic feeling of attention gets many in trouble. How many great leaders through the millions of years all fall for seduction? Lucy posts on the wall and listens to the kids, keeping her ears active. "Burdette, you showed up," says the frat guy named Butch, written on the back of his jersey. "Do you think this year will be pretty dope?" "If I can pass quantum mechanics." "What? That's crazy. Why are you taking that? That's some real, brainy stuff." "Something my mom did." "Is there any money in that? Are y'all middle class or something?" "Upper. Yeah, we live good. She bought me a Ferrari for my 16th birthday." "You're so cool just chilling up here like you ain't got money in the bank. So sick. Can we get a selfie?" The frat guy throws an arm around Burdette and holds a drink. She pulls out a phone, takes a selfie, and then turns the phone to get a shot of the whole party. Within a quick moment between taking the photo and posting it on social media, Butch drops a tablet into a drink. The pool dissolves. Lucy is the only one who spots it. "Can you give me a ride in your Ferrari?" Butch asks. "Yeah, it's parked back at the dam. My boyfriend is coming to pick me up. It's probably for the best that you and I know we can only be friends." "I'm cool with being friends." Burdette tries to sip from a cup. Lucy lunges out and knocks the cup out of her hand. The party kids below get soaked in gin and orange juice. Burdette drunkenly stumbles before trying to slap Lucy across the face. She catches her wrist and drags her into an empty bedroom. Butch bangs on the door, confused about what just happened. "Hey, this is our house. You can't lock yourself inside," Butch shouts from the other side. "Please, listen to me," Lucy says, pulling the hood off to reveal herself to Burdette. "Don't drive tonight. Don't let anyone take you home. Did you not see that idiot try to slip you something?" "What the hell, Mom?" "Listen, Burdette. Walk back to the dorms, please." "What is going on? Can you slow down and take 10 deep breaths? It's so weird seeing you. It's weird seeing you like this. You're not that little girl who is having tea anymore." "No, I'm not, Mom, and you're going to embarrass me. You're going to get in an accident tonight. Stay here and stay with the girls. Don't drive. This is the best I can do for you. Please listen to me. Walk back to your dorms and go to sleep." "Mom, you have to let me go. I don't know what you're feeling right now in the empty nest, but I'm trying to learn how to fly alone. I'll see you at Thanksgiving. I want to be around more. I want us to spend real time together when you return for Thanksgiving. I want to get to know you, the real you, and compensate for the lost time." "That sounds nice. Please, you'll make me cry." Lucy helps Burdette stand and walks her back downstairs. She finds a couch and gently sets her down. They hug, one solid embrace. Lucy takes Burdette's phone, hoping her boyfriend won't be able to get the text to drive her home. Without a phone, Burdette can't call a friend for a ride. If she's forced to walk back to the dorm, everything will be okay. The party starts crowding Lucy with cameras in her face. Everything is being recorded and live-streamed, which could have significant repercussions. One of the football guys throws his drink in her face. Lucy runs past the kids. They grab her by the coat, but she strips it quickly. Some rogue frat guys chase her out of the house, swinging kicks and punches at her. She trips one of the guys into the pool, opening enough room through the crowd to go. No matter the era, savages exist everywhere. These boys show no mercy, now throwing cans and rocks at her head. She hops over the fence and sprints for her life. She escapes, losing them in the dark. Lucy returns to the science building, climbs the ladder, and quickly enters the Eversion. She wishes to stay with Burdette, but only hopes that stealing her phone will change the future. For now, she needs to return to the past and return for Chris. Complete the loop. She twists the dial and trusts the coordinates from the beacon. Hopefully, it functions correctly. With one error, she'll be teleported inside a wall miles away. In the snap of a finger she arrives. She may be off by a minute, but this maneuver is complicated. The beacon testing is minimal. Pop. The Eversion appears in the middle of the stadium as if nothing happened. Reconnected. The buzz of the machine begins to cool. Lucy exits the ship. It's quiet, not a sound. She'd expect to hear Chris's footsteps, but nothing. Chris is nowhere to be found. He's not sitting around or anything.
Chris,
Lucy says quietly. From the top of the gallery looking down on Lucy, a group of Roman soldiers rise. The men hold Christopher at knife point. He blew his cover. His eyes look down on her, full of shame and disappointment. The men dangle him over the edge. Lucy racks her mind for an answer, but nothing. She can do nothing to save him. The Roman men scream Latin at Lucy, but she doesn't understand what they're saying. Violent words.
Chris, please, I'll find a way.
They can't speak our language. Lucy, I was waiting for you.
I'm going to come back a minute from now and save you.
You can't. There will be a time collapse. It's impossible. Go back till our time and tell them to come save me. It's the only way.
I will.
Lucy, you have to come back. They're going to torture me. I promise. Tell the truth. The Roman soldiers fill the stadium, closing in on the Eversion. Bolts and javelins are launched and ding off the side of the ship. Lucy is barely able to get back inside the cockpit. The troops arm the ground, slashing at the metal on the hull. The coordinates are set for home. The men see the Eversion disappear and are left baffled. The story spread throughout the city, but most think it's a legend. They said the gods came back. Lucy runs all the possible outcomes of retrieving Chris without anyone at the hangar knowing. A deep fear fills her soul. Banishment. What else shall she trade for her own daughter's life? There's no way around this. Chris also didn't listen. To protect herself, she'll have to lie. Lucy returns to the present. The room is exactly as it was, sterile and empty. The door of the Eversion opens and Lucy stumbles out. The place is locked tight, and she's trapped inside. All the cameras are watching her. The other travelers wait inside the isolation room. They stay quiet, watching Lucy run around the room, trying to leave. She bangs on the window for them to get help, but they do nothing. What happened to Christopher? The intercom announces without showing a face to identify who they are. Did you lose him in the Roman era?
He walked from his position. He was not supposed to do that. We can take the Eversion back to that spot and save him. There could be a chance on the next day.
We check the Eversion 5 minutes from now. There's a mystery date logged. You deleted something.
No, I didn't.
We will ask again. Honesty can help decide where you fall on the timeline. Where did you go? When did you go? I didn't go anywhere. We talked to Chris, and he said you went somewhere without him. We need to know what you altered so we can try to rectify the problem. Then we can go save Chris. I did nothing but the mission. The room swarms with security guards. She must get far away so they won't make her undo the change. The men rip her from the hull and throw her to the ground. A hard fall punches the wind from her lungs. They bash her in the head, knocking her unconscious. Washing waves splash her in the face until she realizes where she is. Lucy wakes on the shore. Sea foam rolls over the sand. She sits up and ponders, far away from any meaningful world. This is a banishment. She was placed somewhere in the Cambrian era when there was enough oxygen in the atmosphere, little plant life, and crawling mollusks. There aren't land plants, but plenty of soft green. She looks at the seaweed in the water to see if that's what it is. This is it on food. It'll take millions of years before other life forms become viable sources. Lucy eats a mouthful. The green algae drip down her chin. It dawns on Lucy that maybe she's always meant to be here. That is her loop in her life. Her birth was in the mid-70s and death was before man appeared. She thinks of all the good her daughter is doing in the future. What did she become with her life? Lucy sometimes smiles thinking about that. She spends her days as a wild woman, no fear of predators. There are no other creatures on land besides snails. There are no trees for shade. Empty. Yet death never encroaches on her mind. She's so occupied with survival, walking hundreds of miles in one direction, taking shelter from massive storms. She is disheveled and worn down, quietly existing. Knowing nothing can hurt her except herself, she's sure she'll succumb. Every few months, a spacecraft appears overhead. It's one from the Time Agency. The planet scanner detects Lucy's life signal, but they never land. She throws her arms up for rescue, but they don't care. Almost taunting her. Dragging down the spacecraft is impossible. It'll be overhead 1 minute, and out in space the next. There's one belief that Lucy keeps. Maybe it's the last thing she's running on. The idea is that others have been banished as well. This era would indeed hold someone else who has committed timeline crimes. If Lucy could ever find one person, she could have one conversation, something to halt the creeping madness. Existence has become ash. She knew that she chose hell to save her daughter, but is there not anyone else who would do the same? Night after night, Lucy rests on a bed of gravel. The darkness entirely enshrouds her. Fear of physically dying becomes a relief. If even a hallucination of a friend would appear, that could comfort her. How long can she keep this up? She remembers the dull days of staying isolated with Chris, but at least she could talk. They had food. It was only a month. After a year of scouring the land, smoke rises under the horizon. Creating a fire had become a proficient skill for Lucy. The only way to start one is with dried-out algae and a flint rock. The task became one of the few things that could occupy time, so the question for her is that smoke out there from a fire she forgot to put out, or is it something else? Lucy tracks down the potential campfire. She posts herself on the highest hill. Any movement at all would be considered a miracle. Finally, under the morphing mirage on the sand, specks walk. They look like ants from this distance, but that's a human group. This group couldn't possibly be the first appearance of man, not cave dwellers. These are the other time travelers, banished to this era. The marathon begins. Lucy doesn't even take a chance to prepare. She starts running miles of harsh weather, trudging through to the other side. There must be something at the end of the rainbow. The mountain grows in size. The closer she gets, Lucy cautiously approaches until she hears a language spoken. The muddled echoes are evident. The words are English. She can't contain herself, so she runs toward the tribe, keeps her hand in the air, and takes comfort in the thought that if they see her as hostile, her death will be by human hands. There are so many of them, approximately 100. There was no way there were this many banished travelers. The group knows this devastating environment is no way to live, yet they have chosen to grow a family and build their community. There is no future except this. A wise man walks out of the cave and stops Lucy. The tribe knows the protocol. Banished time travelers tend to be this way. I've been lost for such a long time, Lucy pleads. Before you say anything else, please come rest. You've traveled a long way, and this is a sanctuary. My name is Olin. Lucy sits and hysterically cries. The other tribe members come by and hug her and kiss her head. She never felt this much love before. All they have is each other. Olin hands Lucy a plate of food. It's not algae, it is meat. She hesitates before putting it in her mouth. What is this? Oh, even natural human instincts wears off from the taste. Olin says cautiously, the truth is, it doesn't matter what the meat is. It is crucial. If you don't consume this, it'll be disrespectful, and we will send you on your way tomorrow. Okay, I'll eat it. Thank you. Eat. Lucy bites into the flesh. Human meat now becomes the most delicious thing she's ever eaten. It's truly delicious, a leap of faith. At periods, cannibalism is seen as this wretched thing, and at others, it's a spiritual connecting act. When someone passes here, they offer their body. This is how we survive. We use everything available. Throughout her life, Lucy was anointed as the leader. This strange inverse will becomes a community. Every night, they tell stories by the fire and talk about a time that once was. Another generation arises without ever understanding how this came to be. But Lucy leads the youth like a guiding light. She is finding balance. Life may not offer food or variety, but it does offer peace. She checks a reflection in the waterfall to see that she is becoming Lucy again. They call her mother. Through the trajectory of the stars, they learn the months that pass. Every January, their meeting around the fire focuses on the group's time travelers. They confess the crime that banished them. The wise men speak of trying to prevent the genocide of their people. Lucy always goes last and every ear listens. She never tells the story as it is. My partner went to the past and tried to save his daughter. Lucy tells a lie. He lost full control. She crashed into a car that night until he changed it. He took her phone so she couldn't call a ride. It is my fate that the blame was placed on me. Do you think it worked? An inquisitive youth asked her. Do you think your partner's daughter is alive? Well, that's the big question. The phenomenon called the butterfly effect is discussed often at the time agency. Even if someone went back and killed a single butterfly, that could change the course of history. If we say that's true, then yes, him taking her phone that night saved her life. What's the other theory? Another young member asks. Predetermination. That history is already set. That there is no such thing as time shift. Everything is meant to be. I know the leaders try to explain the world that is to come. A car moves on the ground and a phone is used to talk across the sea. But what is a butterfly? It's a small creature that flies. Wings are carried by the wind. They're colorful like a rainbow. Lucy describes it to her knowledge. I can't wait to see a butterfly one day. The young dance around the fire, pretending to be butterflies based on Lucy's description. They have no clue. The children don't understand how to flap their arms to look like they are soaring through the sky. Lucy walks over to Olin. Everyone seems to be laughing and having a good time. She pulls him to the side. We can't keep doing this. The kids need to know the truth. Lucy says, let them imagine. This is cruelty. Only if you know the truth. Let them believe. Deliverance is coming. It gives hope, something to live for. With those words, no one knew what was coming next. The tribe slept through the night. The following day, the Eversion arrived. People have seen ships before, becoming a part of nature. Never has one landed in the middle of the camp. 2 crew members, a man and a woman, leave the ship. The tribe waits in their makeshift homes and watches what will emerge. Lucy steps forward to be the voice for this interaction. She admires the Eversion, even running her hand across the chrome. There are many different dents and scratches that she knows nothing about. It's seen better days. Name is Archibald, and this is Hal. I represent the last. My name is Lucy Hill. Mother. Your hair is grey. That's what happens when you get old. We will see you off if you don't have any important business. Wow. We're surprised to see you so quickly push us away. How many here even know that our ship could save you from the impending doom? We're here to inform you that an active volcano will erupt a few miles from here, making this landing inhospitable for over another 1,000,000 years. This isn't true. Why would we lie? Why would you lie? We want to know your truth. Where on the timeline did you go? I didn't go anywhere. We know that's not the truth. You can save your people here. We ask you to tell us where you went and what you changed. You can return to your time and live a secluded life. Would you like that? You can bring your entire tribe to an appropriate place in time. Somewhere with food, music, dancing. Somewhere with real life. Tell us what you changed. Lucy begins to think of her daughter and the future she has given her. She could never go back and change it. This banishment is worth the isolation and seaweed. A child's future is worth it all. A tribe listens to her answer. No. You shall see your sentence to the end, and bring others with you. The tribe gasps in confusion, and some begin to weep. Archibald and Hal return to the Eversion and disappear. The tribe members are shocked at this decision. Olin kneels on the ground in fear for Lucy. He knows the wrath she placed upon herself. Lucy sleeps and has a nightmare about her daughter screaming in pain on the highway. Terrifying for her to experience, she wakes in a cold sweat with a palm over her mouth. All the youth of the group tie Lucy up. They drag her out of the hut. All the elder time travelers have been murdered in cold blood, heads on pikes. Olin was stabbed to death. Lucy is hoisted by the members, and they carry her for miles. She struggles and asks questions, but no one listens. They're going to make an offering. They carefully cross the hot springs and bring Lucy to the volcano's edge. The tribe stands before her. The Eversion appears above them. It's almost watching and listening the whole thing. It's waiting for an answer. They're listening to us. One of the members say, It's working, Lucy. You must confess. Please give them the truth. Do not damn us to be wiped off the face of the planet. We deserve life as well, right? I never meant for that to happen, but I can't let my daughter die. You can deliver us. Please don't do this. You doomed us all. Lucy is thrown into the fire pit. The lava will melt her into nothing. The sulfur heat stings her skin on the way down. If she opens her mouth, she will be saved, not only for herself, but also for the young. August 29, 2025. Lucy's truth spoke into existence. A beam of light from the Eversion catches her above the fire. She disappears in the blink of an eye. She is back at the time agency, sitting in the ISO room. As if nothing has changed, she is all alone. She is alone. She stands up and presses the button to open the door. The Eversion is parked. It's eerily quiet. Lucy walks through the hangar, unsure of the time she's in. Chris is nowhere to be found, and she presumes he must be gone. The intercom speaks again. I'm surprised to see you back. August 29, 2025. Where's everyone? Are they safe? Yes, your people have been saved. They work for us. You will never see them again. Bad blood and all. They're good kids. You made the right choice. What do you want? Can I go now? Get inside the Eversion and go back to the time of your daughter's death. We want you to observe. It's time to learn whether the butterfly effect is real or predetermination is real. We want you to see it firsthand. Lucy goes back to the Eversion and logs into the cockpit. The Eversion disappears. Lucy uses the machine to locate the party from that night. She sees herself looking up at herself. If only she knew she could stop her. Lucy is an old woman now. It's been about 25 since that night. Badette's boyfriend arrives and they get into the car. They seem happy. Lucy never thought Badette was that happy, as if she was missing something. They are planning on driving back to the boyfriend's house. Lucy watches the crash for the first time. It's horrific, almost animalistic. Two metal machines collide with each other at Mach speed. Her daughter's body was thrown across the concrete and ripped into shreds. Lucy doesn't speak at all. Badette screams on the ground, suffering from significant wounds. She doesn't have a phone to call the ambulance. Hours pass as she dies from internal bleeding. Before returning to the hangar, Lucy stops by the Roman era. She orbits in the Eversion, where she can see Chris. Things would have been different if he had never said anything to the time agency. Lucy would save him, but it was all predetermined, so who's to blame? Time is simply something that never stops. Lucy spends her days on the edge of infinity watching Christopher flayed alive. His skin is peeled from the bone. He doesn't deserve it, but she believes it's what was always meant to be. She stays in the Eversion until she dies of hunger. She and the Eversion become satellites around the Earth from then on until the end.